Well, how can we bring more balance into our lives? Well, I find one of the most unbalanced things is men and women. They're so different, like Mars and Venus, right and left. And I think it's miscommunication between men and women. It's so hard for one to understand the other. It leads to a lot of imbalance in life. And I have a lot of experience with just not understanding the woman's perspective. It's very, very challenging. I remember a few years ago, I was becoming very down and gloomy and depressed. I thought I was going to be losing my job, and my wife was getting very fed up with me. So we decided we'd go to the doctor. So we both went along to the doctor, and I said, I'm really down and depressed. Is there something wrong with me? So he examined me, asked me what was going on. He said, you know, there's nothing physically wrong with you whatsoever. So he looked at my wife, and he said, this is what he needs. And he gave me this enormous hug and held it for 30 seconds. I felt so much better. I turned to my wife and said, this is what he needs, at least twice a week. She said, fine, I'll bring him in Tuesdays and Fridays. So when we got home, I said, that wasn't a very loving response. I don't think we're not quite communicating here. I mean, when we first got married, you said, well, life with you is going to be like a vacation. It's like being on holiday. What's happened to us? And she said, no, I never said marrying you is going to be like being on vacation. I said, this was my last resort. And I do have reservations. Things actually went from bad to worse. And of course, many of the miscommunications between men and women are about sex. Now, I don't believe we're supposed to talk about sex and politics and so on at Toastmasters, but I believe that's not the case for the Joke Master. My wife and I, we were walking down the street, and this woman just was coming up, and just as she came up to us, she gave this enormous sneeze. And as she sneezed, her face became redder and redder, and she became flustered. I said, oh, are you okay? And she said, oh yes, I'm fine. This is, whenever I sneeze, I have an orgasm. And I said, oh, that's terrible. Is this something you can take for that? And she said, yeah, I'm finding black pepper works really well. So that reminded me, and when we got home, I said to my wife, you know, why don't you ever tell me when you have an orgasm? And she said, how can I? You're never there.